G'day there guys, my name's Marky, and welcome back to some more Reddit stories. Let's go. Am I the asshole here for getting hurt and upset over a harmless prank that my husband pulled? Just want to say before I read this, big trigger warning for abuse. Posted by Far Specific 3005. So me and my husband have been married for 5 years. We are currently female 24 and male 33. Curious. No red flags there, huh? Way before we met, when I was 16, my mum's house had a house fire that burnt literally everything down, and sadly my childhood cat was also killed in it. I remember my mum and brother waking me up screaming, "Fire! Fire! Get up! Get up!" We crawled out under the smoke, and luckily my neighbors had already called the fire department, and they pulled us out. We lost literally everything. We were devastated. So that was a while ago, but it still really scares me, and I check outlets and our stove and candles and everything all the time. My husband knows this about me. So 2 nights ago, I went to bed early because I'm currently 34 weeks pregnant, literally about to pop. I was sleeping for a while before for some reason. My husband decided to wake me up by yelling, "Baby, there's a fire! 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 Get up!" As quick as I could get up at 34 weeks, I did and grabbed my purse. I was just in automatic shock and just autopilot and knew what I needed to grab. I made it all the way down the stairs, yelling for my husband to follow me, before he started laughing and telling me that it was a joke. It took a minute for that to process. I stood there with an open mouth while he laughed and ushered me down the rest of the stairs. I sat down on the couch and just started sobbing. It was genuinely the hardest that I've ever sobbed. It's like I couldn't get myself to stop and my whole body was shaking. My heart was racing and I couldn't breathe. I have never had this experience before. I was genuinely so panicked. I was so effing upset. My husband apologized and was like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry, it was just a joke." I just cried until eventually he was like, "What the hell, it was just a prank. This is really dramatic." After a few hours, I had calmed myself down and went to apologize to him. He wouldn't take it. He said I was being overly dramatic and made him feel like shit for a harmless prank. So I guess, am I the asshole here? I've never been good at taking jokes. I've been trying to be less sensitive, but I don't know. Additional information from OP in the comments. On why she apologized, OP says, "I apologized because he made a big deal about me making him feel horrible." On how often her husband plays pranks on her and makes jokes at her expense, she says, "He doesn't, but he often argues that I am too sensitive." On comments that the fire happened when OP and her husband were already dating, her at 16 and husband at 24, she says, "This is not true. We met when I was 18. When asked if the husband is happy about the baby, if he is a narcissist, and if there are other red flags in the relationship, she says, "He's happy. He's the one who wanted a baby." I don't think he's a narcissist, though I'm not sure the definition of that. And no, I don't think that there are red flags, other than what is being pointed out in the comments that I'm reading. That is mostly that he is trying to make me feel sensitive, and our ages, but I always knew that, and I never cared. In the comments, BeTheRoo5 says, "No, you're absolutely not the asshole here. That wasn't a harmless prank when he knows your past trauma. It also wouldn't have been a harmless prank even without that trauma because you were pregnant. The adrenaline spike from something like that could have easily sent you into preterm labor, and while I'm sure you feel ready to pop, you are not yet full term, and the baby's lungs are the last to develop. He is definitely the asshole, but more than that, that was psychological abuse. It was not a prank, it was not funny, and it very well could have done physical harm as well. And now he's trying to gaslight you into thinking that you're the problem? Please be very careful and keep yourself safe." When I read what he did, my first thought was, this is not a harmless prank. I know babies can survive out of the womb at 34 weeks, but the risk of complications is so high at this stage still. He literally put his wife and child's lives at risk for a joke that isn't even funny. It was never meant to be funny. It was intended to harm with just enough plausible deniability to be able to convince her that he was just joking and that he deserves the apology rather than her. And maybe the most important part, what the hell is wrong with him for pulling a prank on you while you were pregnant, and not just pregnant, but literally about to pop pregnant? You're not supposed to go through like any stress right now, not even the stress from an actually harmless prank. He is effing lucky that his bullshit didn't cause harm to the baby or push you into an early labor or something. This was a super dangerous and mean thing to do. You don't need to apologize, he does. OP replies, I didn't even think about this. I'm 34 weeks, but I still need at least 2 more to make sure the baby is fully grown and healthy. That could have been horrible. Honey, in the nicest way possible, cop on. He's a grooming, abusive piece of shit. What he did? It was to terrify you, and now he's punishing you for it. He doesn't like, love, or respect you. He doesn't care about the baby either. It's an ego thing. If you can't leave for you, then leave for your baby. He's going to ruin their life and any self-esteem that they could have just for fun. You are things to him, not people. I've lost 2 children despite doing everything right. He's out here trying to kill your child on purpose. The stares/panic, all of that? Attempted manslaughter. And you're like, welp, I shouldn't have trauma, I guess. Better say sorry to him. That's infuriating. Put your child first and leave this piece of shit. I believe that he was trying to cause something bad to happen. This was not a joke. It was planned and executed, but thankfully she didn't have anything happen that we know of. What trauma the baby suffered is yet to be determined. Please don't leave him alone with this baby when it's born. Couldn't agree more. I don't like this guy's vibes at all. He has been grooming you. There is an unacceptable age gap between you guys that started when you're 18. It always starts when you're 18. We see this too often where people just groom people that are freshly 18 with a significant age gap between them, and this shit happens. It's a very much serious situation. He is going to escalate his behavior. He was trying to hurt you and the baby. Like, he laughed at you and then you apologized to him. You have been so conditioned that you have to forgive him for the damage he does to you. Please have that be a wake-up call to yourself to get out of there as safely as possible. You could never be the asshole here for what you've done. There is no reality in which that is a possibility. And now, onto the update. This is where the trigger warning comes in. A month ago, I posted my first post, which is still up on my account. I was terrified and hurt and confused, and the comments really helped me sort through everything going on. A week later, I went into preterm labor and gave birth to my baby at 35 weeks. A week after that, my husband beat me unconscious when he caught me Googling the signs of an abusive marriage after he coerced me into sex a week postpartum. Today, I filed for divorce and secured a restraining order on him. My husband will never lay a hand on me or my baby ever again. I cannot confidently say that I would have made the decision without the help of my original post, so thank you so very much. I think maybe people don't realize how much you can help a stranger on the internet, but you can, and all of you did. I will be the woman who leaves after the first time. I will be the best mother that I can be, and that starts with leaving him. Thank you. In the comments, character designer says, he's such a piece of shit. I hope you had him charged with assault as well. To protect your future custody, please press charges. If you don't, he could easily get visitation and possibly 50-50 custody. You do not want to have to co-parent with this piece of shit. Having documents that show that you press charges, even if they don't stick, can go a long way. Pressing charges can also make it less likely that he can have a firearm. Yeah, a legal firearm. Please, please be careful. You are currently in the most dangerous part of an abusive relationship. I don't mean to scare you, but many women have died at this stage. If you still have your phone, wipe it or get an entirely new one. If you have a car, have mechanics go over it with a comb, searching for any tracking device. Have your new location completely locked down. Don't tell anyone where you are if there's even a slight chance that they'll tell him. If you're in an apartment complex, let front desk and management know your situation. Cameras. Press charges against him for assault and also for RAPE. Also, OP, please press charges and get a doctor's workup. You could get a deadly infection having sex that soon after giving birth, on top of re-injuring sensitive tissue. I'm so sorry. This is the reason why advice on Reddit is always break up. Because no one is worth it. If someone shows you who they really are or treats you like crap, just walk away and keep living your life. No one is worth losing yourself over. Yeah, I don't get why it's so hard for folks to understand that by the time someone's asking the internet about their relationship, it's not in a good place to begin with. People don't ask for advice when everything's good. Yup, people mock it, but 95% of the time if you're posting here for advice, it tends to be a pretty severe effing issue. Saw the age gap and just knew. Even if the initial issue seems small, which is not the case here, so often it turns out that there was a bunch of red flags the OP was missing and ignoring until Redditors started asking questions or jumping to conclusions. And that's why I will keep reading these stories, and that's why I will keep covering so many comments. Like, I've seen people complaining in my comments that, oh my god, you can't just tell them to leave all the time, that's not the right response. I hope that those comments open your eyes a bit as to why that advice is given. And I don't always agree to leave someone over something small and petty if that is what is going on in a situation. But not everybody has the ability to be a reliable narrator, especially when they're so emotionally invested in the situations. It's easy for their brain to come up with false memories of what happened in situations. Take It Ends With Us, for example, where all of the abuse at the hands of her partner was framed as mistakes. It was all very likely and very plausible that all the abuse that she suffered were mistakes. And that's when you need people outside of your brain to come in and be like, actually, no, that's not a mistake. Here's why it was not a mistake. This is targeted abuse. Your reality is different to the actual reality of the situation. Anyway, going back to the story, I really hope that OP is okay. I really hope that the resources provided to OP by the comments and the community helps them out and helps them get to safety and away from this abuser. I do hope that we get another update in the future telling us that everything's in the clear, assault charges have been filed, and he's not a problem anymore. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. Our next post is by user ThrowRA titled, Am I the asshole for calling my parents by their first names after they didn't punish my brother for a hurtful comment? I'm 17 male, and I was adopted by my parents, Peter and Jane, when I was 4 years old. They've always been open about my adoption, and I've never felt like they treated me any differently because of it. They have 2 other kids, my siblings, who are 12 male and 9 female. We've always been a close family, and I've always considered Peter and Jane to be my real parents. But last week, I had an argument with my 12-year-old brother. I can't even remember what started it, but in the middle of it, he suddenly said, "Mum and Dad aren't even your real parents." Hearing that from him hurt more than I can explain. I've always seen him as my little brother, and I never imagined that he would say something so cruel. Afterward, I went to Peter and Jane, expecting them to be as upset as I was, but instead of grounding him or making him apologize, they just said that he didn't mean it and probably didn't realize how hurtful it was. They pretty much brushed it off, and that made me feel like my feelings weren't important. And since then, I've been calling them by their first names instead of Mum and Dad. I know it's getting on their nerves because they've asked me to stop, but I've refused. I told them that I'll stop when they either punish my brother or at least make him apologize for what he said. If he's going to say that they aren't my real parents, then why should I call them Mum and Dad? Now they're upset with me, saying that I'm being petty and that I'm overreacting. My dad has even started calling me princess because he says that I'm acting like one. I know he's trying to make me feel bad or embarrassed, but honestly, it just makes me feel worse. From where I stand, it feels like they didn't take what my brother said seriously enough, and that is why I'm doing this. I don't want to feel like I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but at the same time, I can't just let this go without some sort of consequence. What my brother said really hurt me, and I need them to understand that. Am I the asshole? In the comments from OP OP says, he, Peter, used to call me stuff like that all the time, and he knows that it pisses me off, which is why he's doing it. He labeled me as gay for 3 years because I wanted to do ballet until I finally quit. Don't get me wrong, I love my dad, I don't think he's abusive or anything, but he gets like this when he's upset and just says nasty things to everyone. It doesn't happen that often though. I've explained why it's upset me so much, and when I did, I started crying, and that's when my dad started calling me princess. That's embarrassing, but this is the reason why I've used a throwaway account. Coratul says, not the arsehole. It's not difficult for your parents to explain how hurtful that must have been and how bad you must have felt in that moment. It seems as though your dad is being a little petty and his actions were immature and unwarranted. As the adult, he's supposed to be the bigger person and man up. Eventually I think this will all die down, but if it doesn't, you might be able to talk to your mom about the whole situation, seeing as your dad's reaction indicates that a talk may not result in much progress. As for your brother, I'd have a talk with him one-on-one as well, just to see where his thoughts are about everything, and to just explain how that made you feel and get it off your chest. He's young, so although he understands what he said, he may not understand the full gravity of what that quick moment meant. Hopefully you can make up with him. Punishment isn't the only solution, even though it may seem satisfying in the moment. I wish you luck. I would take this a step further. Since father is using princess as an insult for a gender that it does not appear that the OP identifies with, this man is showing sexist traits. With bigoted behaviors like that, it brings into question what Peter is saying to the brother. Ratchet it further up. Stop calling them by their first names. Refer to them as Mr. Surname and Mrs. Surname. If they refuse to see why this is important to you, underline the separation. I worked with a guy whose mother-in-law insisted on him calling her Mrs. So-and-so. I can't remember what it was. I'll say that it was Smith. From the first time that they met, even though his then-girlfriend introduced her by their first names. Girlfriend's father was called by his first name, mother was Mrs. Smith. They got engaged, planned the wedding. The day of the wedding, mother-in-law says, "You can call me Mary now." And my colleague says, "But you'll always be Mrs. Smith to me." 35 years later, he still calls her that. And to her everlasting frustration, so do all his kids. Their grandparents are Granddad and Mrs. Smith. Your comment reminded me of that and I laughed again, so I felt that I should share. Standard response to the 12-year-old's comment is, "They chose me, but didn't you know? You were a mistake." Not the asshole for making your point. What OP probably doesn't know is that this is a common insult for siblings to make. Even when they are full bio siblings living with their bio parents, that doesn't make it any less hurtful. But it isn't an odd thing for a kid to say. Not the asshole for being upset and letting it be known. Yeah, I don't think that you're the asshole for your approach to this situation and wanting them to punish him. I know that punishment in this situation isn't the only solution, but the kid is 12 years old. 12 years old is the age where you punish them, and that gets the message across most effectively, I feel like. I'm biased in that regard, and I understand that it may not be the best way. It may also not be the recommended way. But I believe that if stupid actions like his don't have severe consequences, they don't make him feel bad, they don't make him feel how OP is feeling, he's not going to change, he has no incentive to. If he's always going to be protected by his parents when he hurts OP like this, that's just them giving him permission to do it and go harder until he pushes the boundaries enough that he knows where the boundaries are. Don't let 12-year-olds that don't have an understanding of the world, that don't have a fully formed frontal cortex, push boundaries until they become someone that destroys relationships with their siblings. I think that's a bad approach to parenting, and I think that they're teaching the wrong lessons to their child. They are doing both of these kids no good in their actions. Update. First off, thank you so much to everyone who commented on my last post. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that my feelings are valid, so it means a lot. Since I last posted, things have taken a different turn. My little brother actually came to me and apologized on his own. He looked really sorry and said that he didn't mean what he said and that he didn't realize how much it would hurt me. We had a good talk, and I honestly believe that he meant it. I've forgiven him, and we're back to being okay with each other. So at least that's one thing sorted. But now, the real issue is with Peter. I don't know if it's because I've been standing my ground or what, but instead of things getting better, they've just gotten worse. He's still calling me princess every chance he gets, but it's gone beyond just teasing. Yesterday, he actually posted a picture of a bunch of dresses on his Facebook page and tagged me in it with the caption, "Bet you like these, princess." A few of his friends even commented on it, laughing and making jokes about me. I felt so humiliated, and when I tried to talk to him about how hurtful it was, he just brushed it off and said that I needed to learn to take a joke. Jane, as usual, is trying to play peacemaker, but she's really not doing much to stop Peter. She keeps saying things like, "Oh, you know how your dad is. He doesn't mean any harm." But that's not good enough for me. I'm still upset that neither of them took what my brother said seriously in the first place, and now it feels like Peter is making things even worse. It's gotten to the point where I'm seriously thinking about just keeping my distance from Peter. I've been avoiding him as much as possible, but it's hard when we live in the same house. It's like I'm being punished for standing up for myself, and I'm not sure what to do anymore. My friend said that I can come and stay with him, and I am genuinely considering it. Again, thank you to everyone who has been supportive. If anyone has any advice on how to deal with this situation, I'm all ears. I don't know how much longer I can keep putting up with this. In the comments, Quiet Dust says, "Peter is the reason that your brother insulted you in the first place. He was just following the example that was set for him by that bully. It is not okay for him to call you names and ridicule you. It's the last thing that a loving parent should do. It's completely reasonable to want to keep your distance and want to leave the house, temporarily in the short term, and perhaps permanently once you're 18. I have a son on the way, November due date, and if he likes ballet, I will fully support him. Peter is a bigot and a bully, and I hope you understand that his unkind words say everything about him and nothing about you. God, your parents sound awful. I would fight fire with fire. Tell him all his homophobic shit is just projecting because he secretly has a crush on one of his friends that found his Facebook jokes so hilarious. When he loses his shit, tell him that he needs to learn how to take a joke. By the way, this is not good advice and it won't fix things. I would sit them both down and have a serious conversation about why they adopted you and whether they're still committed to raising you, because your homophobic dad and spineless mom are doing a shitty job of it lately. It is great to hear about your brother. Good on him. We can mess up when we're young, but not everyone learns from it. Your father never learned his lessons, it would appear, nor anyone who thinks he's being amusing. Name-calling is for boys, not men. I can think of ways to go nuclear in response, but they're not appropriate. I'd withdraw as best I could, and simply give brief, polite responses I needed to communicate, and not give him the reaction that he seems to want. I wish I could tell you that he'd grow out of it, but it doesn't appear promising at this point. His loss and your misery. Final update. Hello people. It's been a while since I was on here, but I wanted to come back and make this post to clarify a few things. I've seen a lot of people call my dad abusive, and that is simply not the case. My dad is a very loving person who sometimes likes to joke around, but never intends harm with his jokes. He does sometimes take a joke too far, but again, he does not intend to hurt anyone's feelings, and is definitely not abusive with the way that he acts. I've come to the realization that I did overreact in the way that I behaved, and I shouldn't have even posted anything about my parents online. But I'm making this post just to set the record straight one last time. I apologize to my parents for being too sensitive, because again, they never intended to hurt my feelings, and are certainly not abusive. I know my parents love me more than anything, and do consider me family, so I shouldn't have suggested that they didn't. Even though I was overreacting with how I was behaving, my dad still took me to my favorite restaurant when I started talking with him again. Does that seem like an abusive person to you?
Yes.
I think everyone here is projecting their own issues onto me and my dad, because I can tell you he's not abusive at all. This is going to be my last post here, because I shouldn't have even posted any private information about my family, and shouldn't have spoken about a private family matter online like this, because if anyone found out who we were, I could put my parents' jobs in danger because of how you people were misunderstanding our relationship. In the comments, She's Alive Damn It says, quote, "Does that seem like an abusive person to you?" My mind immediately went to Ben Wyatt in Parks and Recs asking, would a depressed person make this? My immediate thought was, yeah, it does. It sounds like love bombing. Yup. See also, it's just a joke. And Davo. My immediate thought was, oh shit, the parents found the post. Opie, if you're okay, just blink. Oh god, you guys, I can see him blinking. There is no war in Ba Sing Se, I guess. Check their bio. In their bio says, I just need to do as they say at the moment. Things will calm down soon. I'm sorry for everyone that I'm disappointing. It wasn't written by me. I might be able to update soon. We'll have to delete this. And that's all I really have for you guys on this one. It makes sense that the parents did find the post and force them to do this. It's unfortunate that things like this do happen. It's unfortunate that there are so many abusers out there, even to kids that they've adopted. I look forward to the update in the future. However that may pan out, OP. I'm sorry that you had to be put in this situation with someone that obviously does not give a shit about you. You deserve more than that, and I hope that when you're 18 you leave and forge your own destiny. One that's far less abusive, one that's less manipulative, one that is happier and freer from what you're dealing with now. Thank you for sharing the post, and I genuinely do hope that you're okay. Anyway guys, I do hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.